We're here with four members of the DePaul Game Elites, a group of students in DePaul University's game development program who have designed a free computer game called The Devil's Tuning Fork. Inspired by the maze-like work of Dutch artist M.C. Escher, the 3D game has become very popular among gamers worldwide. In fact, the trailer for the game has attracted 100,000 plus viewers on YouTube. But most impressive is that The Devil's Tuning Fork was named a finalist in the International Independent Games Festival's student competition this year. Congratulations to you all for this honor.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Could each of you introduce yourself and identify your role in creating this game?
Yep. My name's Jason Pecco. I'm the project lead and technology lead on the game.
Kyle Sullivan. I am the visual design lead on the project.
Amel Zara was the producer on the project.
And I'm Kevin Geisler, and I'm the audio lead and audiovisual programmer.
Could you describe the object of the game?
Sure. The object of the game for us was to create an innovative experience and something that we hadn't seen before in a game. So we wanted to sort of expand on this idea of echolocation. And the idea of echolocation is the way dolphins or bats might see, where they make a sound and the environment's visualized in front of them. And so we did the same thing in a more abstracted way in our game. And so the player plays as a child in another universe who's in this coma. And they make sounds after getting the Devil's Tuning Fork, and the Devil's Tuning Fork allows them to visualize the environment by using the sounds they make.
What aspect of developing the Devil's Tuning Fork was the most challenging?
Definitely the most challenging was discovering the fun that we could match to the core mechanic. Anyone who's probably attempted to making a game before knows that there's no real science of discovering what that fun is. And so to overcome that challenge, we set up this very intensive prototype stage where we tested out a whole bunch of mechanics that we thought could match well to that to the echolocation. That was anything from platforming to simple platforming, or to reflection, where you could bounce off sounds off the walls. And once we figured out the ones we liked, we put it in game, and we had it.
I understand that the team created the game in about 6 months, which is a very short time period. How were you able to move so quickly from prototype to final design?
Well, in June, we actually spent about a month pitching and coming up with some different design ideas. We probably had about 24 different ideas that we eventually narrowed down to 2 prototypes. We spent about 2 weeks actually fleshing out those prototypes before picking the precursor to Devil's Tuning Fork. From there, we worked on expanding the technology, testing the core mechanics, and coming up with some different visual design choices. It wasn't until September that we actually started nailing out all the different levels and final additional core mechanics for the game. And we really had to pretty much iterate and tone down everything extra in the game so that we could focus on what was needed to get a very polished product.
Now, how were students chosen for the Game Elites? And I understand there was a large group that was involved in developing this game. How was that managed?
Well, everyone had to go through an application process. We all had to submit resumes and examples of work that we had done before. And the people who were called back in were called in to be interviewed by Alex Seropian. I remember being pretty nervous for my interview, but Alex turned out to be a pretty cool guy, and I was really happy to make it onto the project. And it turned out that this was actually the biggest student project that I had ever worked on, and actually it was the biggest game development team ever assembled by DePaul before. So even the advisors had a little bit of adjusting to do because nobody really knew how to run this project. It was a very new experience, but it was a little bit of a rough start. But after we had picked roles and everyone had kind of gotten used to what they were doing, and it started to run pretty smoothly. And right now I couldn't be any more excited to continue development on this project, seeing that now we're all kind of in our own groove and things are just going really well for us.
Now, your faculty advisors were some very distinguished people, including, as you mentioned, Alex Seropian, the creator of Halo, and other industry veterans, including Joe Linoff and Scott Roberts. What was it like working with them?
It was great working with them. All of them were just constants for us. Anytime we needed advice, you can ring them up, send them an email, meet them in their office, and always be there to give helpful advice on the project. And Alex, in particular, was great. Just DePaul giving the opportunity for us to even sit in a room and just talk games with them was great. And that's all, explain our game ideas to him and get feedback from that. That was just, it was really fun. And we learned a lot from him. And probably the biggest advice he gave to us was during the summer. He said, you know, when you're developing a game, know your due date and plan to have it complete 3 months before that, because inevitably you're gonna need those 3 months. You know, and we took that advice and we said, okay, and then we quickly realized he knew what he was talking about.
Well, congratulations on the success of the Devil's Tuning Fork, and where can people learn more about the game?
You can download the full free version of the game at devilstuningfork.com. We also have a gameplay video up there to see if you want to see what our game's all about, and we also have a video up that explains the full evolutionary process that our game followed all the way from prototype stage through to you know, final product. So if you want to check that out, that's pretty cool to watch as well.